There wasn't enough warning for executive session.
Yeah, sorry. 5:56. Can't even use my hand to plan for childcare excuses. Hold on. How was your Christmas tree day? It looked good.
It was fun.
Oh, it's fun.
Drug
I want to trade families. Okay. I don't want to trade. I'll take all of you. You can just.
You want to borrow us?
Should I take one? Florida, Christmas tree.
Well, Caroline and Tom were there, so they're the same people.
The male version.
We went over to their farms, Killian,
Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order, please.
Council workshop meeting, Monday, December 6, 2021, 6 p.m. Heidrich.
Here.
Holtmeyer.
Here.
Patke.
Here.
Pettit.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Scornia.
Here.
Solentrup.
Here.
Wessels.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Will all the committee members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the meetings dated November 1st and November 15th, 2021? Heidrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Patke.
Yes.
Pettit.
Aye.
Reed.
Yep.
Scornia.
Yes.
Solentrup. Wessels.
Aye.
Having read the minutes, are there any comments or questions?
Make a motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Solentrup, seconded by Patke, to approve the minutes from our last meetings dated November 1 and November 15. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the minutes. Thank you.
Presentations, sewer lateral infiltration elimination program.
John? Okay.
Okay, good evening, Council. This presentation, it's about a program that the engineering department's been working on with Kevin, actually for a couple of years now. We get questioned about maybe once a month, a couple times a month from new citizens in town having issues with their sewer laterals. Is there any kind of self-insured program? St. Louis County, St. Charles County have a program where essentially you pay an extra fee on your sewer bill, and then it goes into an account where you can self-insure, okay? So I was working with Mark Piontek on that to come up with why don't we have one, what's the reasoning for these? And really what came of it is since we are not a charter form of government at the county level, that we are forbidden by state statute to have something like that. So that was the reason. I did not know that. I mean, finally kind of dug into that a little bit. So what we did was kind of thought outside the box and looked at other mechanisms to find some assistance for individuals. As you all are aware, we do have an infiltration, inflow. I don't want to necessarily call it a problem, but any older community has a problem with that in our sanitary sewer system. So when it rains, water will infiltrate into the ground, or it will enter into the sanitary sewer through downspouts or sump pumps. So looking at ways to kind of tackle that, in the late 70s, 80s, the city actually did a bunch of projects to separate stormwater and sanitary sewage, part of Clean Water Act, those type of things. But we never had a mechanism to get into the home and do it. There are houses north of 5th Street that have downspouts still connected. I'll give an example in Lafayette right here when we redid the sewer pipe, the storm sewer last 2 years ago now. We actually had 3 sump pumps that were connected to the sanitary sewer that we worked on getting those. And every time one of those pumps is on, that's less capacity for the sanitary sewer. And those things kind of cause issues in our downtown area. So this program is actually kind of trying to tackle 2 problems, with the primary function being to go after from inflow and infiltration. So we call it Sewer Lateral Infiltration Elimination Program. Sleep, kind of use that. I'd like to get more sleep at night, and hopefully your citizens do too, so it's kind of easy. But the City of Washington's Sewer Lateral Infiltration Elimination Program is designed to aggressively go after the source of stormwater in our sanitary sewer system. Stormwater and sanitary sewer system costs money to treat, so we treat that water at the treatment plant. The pipes aren't big enough to handle rain and sanitary sewage. They're not designed for that. They never were designed for that. So when it rains, we're trying to eliminate that. And then encourage homeowners to replace, rehabilitate their entire sewer lateral. So what we see a lot of is when a homeowner has a lateral problem, they actually won't go into the street to repair it. They only go halfway, mainly due because of cost. Replace the sewer laterals anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000. Homeowners typically see they can afford $4,000. So this idea is if we could push them along to replace that last little bit, that helps our streets, that helps our sewer. It really replaces everything, makes it new. So that's what this does. So let's attack the problem at the source. Real quick little rundown. It's kind of maybe hard to see, but house, pipe, sanitary main. Citizens own this pipe, the sewer lateral, okay? That is their pipe. City owns this pipe. So we get that question a lot. Well, that pipe's in the street. Yeah, it's still yours, even though it is in the street, because you're connecting your home to our system. So just some ideas, deteriorated manholes, we're working with that on a different program, but what this does is it rehabilitates this pipe. City main, we're already taking care of with slip lining, replacement, those type of things, the stuff that we've been talking about for a long time. So just give you an idea what that looks like. Roof downspouts, this stuff we're looking for. Clay standpipes coming next to foundation walls. That's, old pipe. A lot of times you see these disconnected with like boots and things like that. That's disconnected, right? They're not tied to underground pipes underground. So they've already taken care of that issue. But when I see something like this driving up and down the street, I would bet you a lot of money that's tied into a sanitary sewer. Here's another thing, it's kind of hard to see, but this is essentially a sump pump connected to a sanitary sewer. So your footing drains, those type of things pump, again, storm water that hits the side of a house into the sanitary sewer system and causes issues during rain events and after rain events. So this is the stuff that we're looking for. So qualifications, how are you going to be eligible? So you have to be the actual property owner. You can't be a renter. You got to own the property. Pretty simple. Must be experienced of failure, which that's an interesting one, right? If you bought a new home and you knew you got a clay sewer lateral, but you're not having a problem, you're not eligible. You got to have roots in the line, collapse in the line, something. You got to have a qualifying issue to be eligible. Reason for that is like we can't replace 2,000 of these in one year. We got to kind of spread them out, and kind of the idea is if it's not broke, don't fix it. So this is just a way to spread that out a little bit. You have to complete an inflow inspection by the city. So you have to invite us into your home. We'll put a big smile on our face, and we will say, do you have any of these downspouts connected? If you do, you have to disconnect them to be eligible. If you don't, you're already eligible, right? So if you get in your basement, you see a sump pump. If it's connected to the sanitary sewer, you have to disconnect that to be eligible. If you don't, so be it, you're just not eligible. I'm not telling you have to. It's all voluntary. I'll get to that a little more. I could see some questions. Licensed plumber must provide explanation of the problem. So you got to explain what the problem is, estimate of the work, and then a pre-project camera inspection. So I want your camera inspection on file. You must replace/rehabilitate the entire pipe from the home to the connection. So you can't do a spot repair. You can't do 2/3. You can't do 1/3. You got to do the whole thing. It's part of the idea. And then you got to apply for and receive all the permits. So sewer lateral permit, pretty standard, or building permit, and then a street excavation permit if that's required. So again, pretty standard stuff. And it's only eligible for residential customers only. So a couple things there. The funding, funded annual by the Stormwater Fund. That's the interesting one. Stormwater Fund, it is in your budget this year. We're not asking for additional money to do this. It was put in this year's budget. We see about 20 maybe lateral inspections. Not all of them are full replacement. We believe we will get full replacement. That's kind of how I set the budget. So we have that amount of money now is based on 20 of these a year. If we start running out of money, I'll be coming back and say it's successful. Can we have a little more? But what we're proposing is a reimbursement of up to $4,000 of the cost to repair. So again, 8 to 10,000 is your rule of thumb, trying to get 40 to 50% to try to push them over the edge to actually replace these things and fix the issue. And then the reimbursement's made after the repair is completed. Should have said completed, but is completed. So it's not a forward project. So you have to find the money up front, and then you submit these things, and then we reimburse you back. Example of the checklist application, we got it all put together. If you are not, or if you believe you are eligible and staff says you're not eligible, you can appeal to the Board of Public Works against staff's decision. There are some scenarios I could see that happening. I don't think it would happen too often, but I could see one where you want to replace a clay pipe, but you can't prove there's a problem. Well, there's a little discrepancy there maybe. So just some small things. And that's really it. Trying to be brief. I can answer any questions. I'm hoping that I can get with Mark, if you all allow me to proceed, get with Mark in the next couple of weeks and have this up and running on January 1st. So pretty aggressive, pretty quick, but we're teed up, ready to go.
John, for me to make sense, obviously that someone who's doing that is costing us more than $4,000.
Correct.
And how is that costing us more than $4,000?
Costing us being the property owner?
The city.
So, I'm sorry.
In other words, you're willing to give them $4,000 to correct something on their property.
Correct. That's
And to me, the only reason you're willing to give them $4,000 is because if we don't correct it, it's going to cost us more than $4,000.
Yes. I mean, you're treating any rain event that you have infiltration into your sewer line, you're treating that. Now, what's that dollar number on that gallons? I don't know if I could answer that. But, I mean, you're working on trying to get the pipes, your streets. I mean, if there's a collapse and you're only replacing half and you got to go through, you got to tear up your streets. You have sewer backups that we are always trying to, eliminate. So I could think of Front Street, we have manpower, keep an eye on manhole lids that pop and things on Front Street that we're trying to eliminate. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of what we're after.
Well, obviously, you think that's an investment to save us from bigger costs.
Correct, and that's the concept. And again, I don't know if I necessarily went so far into like calculating what that would be. It was more of, I see a lot of these things coming in and only replacing half. And I asked people, I said, why don't you replace it? Well, I can't afford it. Yeah. Okay. I knew the answer before I asked the question. But it's a way to get that 40 to 50% in the street, except from an infiltration perspective.
How many did you say a year?
We get about 20 to 21 building permits on sewer lateral work in general, but not all of those are full replacement. One could be just a spot repair, literally 3 foot maybe. So again, if you're a homeowner and you don't want to be eligible, let's say you can't come up with the $4,000 or the $8,000 up front, hypothetically, and you just want to do a spot repair, it costs you $500. Sure, sounds good. You can do your spot repair, life will get your permits, life goes on, and you're just not eligible.
Expect that also?
What's that? We do. Yeah. So it's not that we're forcing you to do it. It's an opportunity for you, again, to basically eliminate the risk rather than defer it.
You think the 20 to 21 is going to go to 40 or 50, or do you think we're?
I don't know.
I don't. I don't.
You think this may be a total lateral replacement rather than partial? Is the main goal here?
Well, I'm sorry. What was that?
Instead of doing partial fixes,
Yeah.
are you thinking this is going to have them do the whole thing?
I do.
That's the main goal.
Well, we get 20 to 21 on partial fixes and full. Those are combined numbers. So I don't think that the number. You could have somebody that comes in that does that just augers out their roots every 3 years and maybe sick of doing that. Now this program's up and running, but again, they have to make the decision. That would be a qualifying event. Or roots in a sewer line. Right. But then they have to make the decision, do I want to invest $8,000 and wait for a reimbursement from the city? Are they going to do that?
Right.
See, I don't think everybody's going to, but I do think some would.
John?
So instead of if you have to go into the street, is there going to be another permit?
It's the same permit it's always been, street excavation permit. Yeah, it doesn't change. None of this changes the permits process. All that it does is it requires one more inspection for the city to do that inflow inspection. All it does.
John, I think the only reason people are having their laterals inspected is because they sell their house. The buyer wants to know if the lateral's good. Mm-hmm. Find out that there's a hang-up in the lateral. You either fix the lateral or you don't sell your house.
It's possible. I mean, we don't, you know, there's private insurance, you know, we're not getting in the middle of any of that. It's an opportunity that the city sees an opportunity, or at least staff sees an opportunity that we can eliminate some of this inflow, to, like I said, aggressively go after our sewer issues. I mean, you're slip lining and replacing your own mains, sewer mains. I mean, you're doing that $500,000 this year. But what people don't, there's 25 feet of sewer lateral in every one of those 6,500 homes that not everyone has a problem. I'm just saying there's 25 feet of every one of those that flow right into it. So we got to come up with some mechanism to go after that as well. And this is what we've come up with.
Well, as John said earlier, the city's looked at doing some type of program in the past, but as Mark Piantek advised us, you know, we cannot, you know, as a result of just not being a charter government at the county level. But one of the things we do encourage is for homeowners to go ahead and still get the insurance policy, the rider policy for their homes, because that really helps a lot, especially in those situations where that makes the difference between when they do the spot repair for $500 like John's talking versus doing the entire thing. That's what keeps them from doing it, is because it's coming directly out of their pocket. So.
John, what's the reimbursement process? So you've gone through this checklist on the front end. Is it, I send you my receipts, you inspect, and within the month?
It's about as simple as we can make it. So yeah, we would do the inspection just like we always do. No, nothing changes. You'd send the receipts in. Essentially, the public works director signs off on it, goes to finance cuts a check, and away you go. So we try to keep this really not a lot of staff time. I've done one inspection myself on a homeowner on Fair Street. Fair Street was being paved, so they ironically had a sewer issue, and I said, hey, let me do the inspection just as a run-through. I can't promise you anything until I talk to council, but I did it, and it went relatively smooth. I didn't hear any negative feedback from the property owner, and they were somewhat grateful that we were at least trying. So.
And there's no grandfather process. It's January 1.
There's not. I tried that. I talked to Mark about that, and I put like a 3-year type deal, but there is none. He said we could not do that, unfortunately. Got to start somewhere. So, what this is doing is, remember, it's stormwater fund, right? This is not coming out of your sewer fund. It's coming out of your stormwater fund. You know, your sewer backups and your issues in the basements and things don't come from flooding of the Missouri River. They come from backups on your sewer system, and we're trying to invest into that to get that stormwater out to reduce that risk.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
When would you want to get this cleared so you can start in January?
I got to ask Mark about what that next process is. I don't know if it's an ordinance. I'm not sure.
I guess we would have an ordinance for the
Yeah.
meeting on December the 20th.
That would be the ideal. And then funds would be eligible, open. I mean, they're budgeted now, but January 1st is we could start processing some things.
Need a motion to go forward with this, talk to Mark?
Yeah, appreciate some
I'll make a
support.
motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Solentrup, seconded by Patke, to move forward and talk to Mark. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've moved it forward. Thank you.
And I apologize, I got to bail, I got a family event. I will be back later in the council meeting. So,
Okay.
Can I get 1 minute?
yeah, sorry.
I know I spoke to you about the telephone poles on Front Street and the ones that are cut short and they're not
Yeah.
taking them out. We have another way of trying to get these people to get these things cleared up?
We're working with Charter, Ameren, and all the utility companies to get their stuff cleaned up around town. It is a struggle. They have a system, it's called NJUNS, NJUNS. Basically, it's like a one-call system, and I'm trying to get on that system so I could see where things sit, but it's kind of Charter, or Ameren will tell Charter and AT&T when they're off their pole, and they got these, it's kind of a bureaucratic nightmare. But I am getting some contacts with everyone, every communication company. I've been pretty aggressive with them, and I think we're going to get some of this stuff cleaned up. It's a work in progress.
Okay, thanks.
And I apologize. It's a mess.
All right. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Health benefits, Shreffer Insurance.
Scott?
All right, thank you. Whoa, let's see. I think John had me teed up. Oh, maybe not. Can you tee me up?
He does.
There it is.
There you go. Slideshow. All right. We did our renewals for our medical and our ancillary benefits. We'll go over the history. Darren asked it, present a history, kind of give away the thunder. You can see our renewal for going forward for the next year, maintain exact benefits. Cost is going down 3%. So we're down negative 15.5% over the last 5 years with no change in coverage.
That's great.
So you look at that, you can see we got another 29,000 plus back this year from the prior year. When we run well, we get money back. We had an opportunity to do that again this year, and actually we took the 3% reduction. We could have stayed even, and we took a 3% reduction to have a bird in the hand. So we felt like that was the wise way to go. The thing you got to remember is, as we keep doing this, medical trend, pharmaceuticals, your doctors, your hospitals, that's trending up at about 10% a year. So what cost $1 this year costs $1.10 next year, and we're fighting that. And then the COVID this year, the increase on that, they're asking, was only about 3.5%, 4%. Last year it was 8%. So we fight those trends. Are we going to run into a year where it's not going to work as well? We're not going to get a reduction or be able to hold it. I mean, we had 2021, we didn't run well. Coming into that year, we changed companies. But, the key to that was we didn't incur a loss because we're fully funded, and our health issue went away. So we didn't pay for it that year, and we didn't have to pay for it the next year. So if we can keep reducing our premiums and overcoming the 10% increase in trend that everybody's seeing every year, it's good. Still, the only client we have, 400 clients plus, that has a zero deductible 100% plan. And it's nice to, when we sit in front of the employees, that's, seems to be the thing they value. And the feedback we get from Darren and Shauna seems to echo that. So this is just a spreadsheet. I printed everything out so you guys didn't have to squint. But yeah, you can see exact same benefits. We continue to buy a $3,000 deductible and fund that down to zero. And the numbers play in our favor, and it's running well. So it's a form of self-insurance, but we're not on the hook for 125, 150 grand on a single claim. We're on the hook for 3,000. So we're not getting buried when we have large claims. Another big part of what we're doing and why I think we continue to run well is our wellness initiatives from tobacco side, and we continue to negotiate these with insurance companies. So this is Anthem's program where you can go through, and if you get your annual exam, colonoscopies, PSAs, mammograms, pap smears, do a health risk assessment online. They're rewarding you, and they'll give every employee up to $200 back a year. And they get that back on a Visa card, and they're off and running. But instead of penalizing them, it's rewarding them. So we call it the carrot. So, but it is, and it's something that Anthem tracks, and the city doesn't have to track. So Shauna's not running around trying to track everybody down. So it goes through the claims process, and they glean it from the claims and then send the card out automatically.
Any idea what percentage of our employees participate at any level in that program?
Actually, Shauna, you have our wellness side, so.
So we have currently about 10 to 15 employees that do not do our internal wellness program. That is a wellness rebate. For this year, we're getting ready to go into, and I'm missing about 13 employees that haven't submitted their wellness. That deadline was by the 30th of November. So we only have about 13 employees who've not completed that wellness. I've got a couple that said I couldn't get in until December, so we might get a couple more. But we run really well on that program, and that's the rebate on their premium internally. This program that Scott is in addition to, and that is Anthem gives the dollars directly to the employee. The city doesn't even see any of that, so.
Yeah, there's no cost to the city for this. We negotiated within the premiums. So as they complete their wellness exam, their reward through Anthem gets processed automatically. So trickle down, so you figure you're getting, what, 90+% participation.
Terrific, thank you.
So this is new to the city, this
No,
Anthem,
it's the second year that we've
That's
had.
their
second year, okay.
Yep. Yeah, they tweaked it a little bit. Last year, they're giving you more ways to get it this year. Last year was just wellness exam, flu shot, and health risk assessment, and if you use tobacco or not. Now they're incentivizing disease management programs, exercise programs, other things that you can get it with. This is our ancillary renewal history. Ancillaries are your life, dental, vision, disability type programs. Go through those. Wasn't going to run through all those. We had no change in those this year. We're in a rate lock. We took them out to bid. Doesn't matter if you guys get a 0 or you get a decrease. We're still bidding every company. But you can see our average over the last 5 years there. Actually, I think they got it was down 14, so it's down 21% over the last 5 years. Again, same coverages. So last year we had the negative 14. This is the financial summary. We went out, and right now our dental, we know, is running hot. We're running at about 130% loss ratio. That's the norm for us. Our dental insurance is underpriced, but the other coverages prop that up. So we know that next year, you never like to change companies, but there's a possibility we'll be changing companies just to keep our dental premium down with the rest of the coverages. But yeah, we're at 0 this year and no changes in coverage. Questions?
When you say your dental insurance is underpriced, does that mean the coverage is less and that's why the expenses are so much higher?
The premiums that we're paying
They
don't
don't
support the claims that the insurance company's paying out. But on the flip side, while we're able to negotiate that, is if you look up the vision and the life insurance and the voluntary life insurance,
Covering that,
those run well, so it props up the dental.
thank you,
So the dental's kind of their loss leader.
thank you.
Other questions?
Okay, any question or discussion by council members?
We ask questions when it goes up 5 or 10%.
Well, when we're at the Legion game, you're like, hey, we didn't get a decrease last year. It stayed at 0. Come on, Scott. And I'm like,
You're gonna
"Oh."
have to remind us. We're gonna really,
Jeff is beating on me.
Thanks, Scott.
yeah.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Scott, and I just think this was a real tribute to our employees who manage our healthcare. Shauna does an outstanding job of managing the healthcare with our employees, and there are a lot of incentives there for employees to participate and stay healthy and things like that, and it's certainly paying dividends for us. So thank you for going to bat for us, and this is just great news.
Yeah, and the employees are, a lot of that credit goes to the employees because, one, they're doing their wellness, but two, like our emergency room usage is way below the
Way down.
benchmarks. And so when we go through and look at claims every month, if we see something that's out of whack or, a large claim going on or something, we reach out and tell Sean or tell Darren and say, hey, this isn't right. But our usage patterns are really good. So what happens is if you have a bad claim year, and it's a cycle, you're going to have a bad claim year at some point. When we go out and market this to insurance companies, if we can say, hey, look, this group is doing this right, their generic usage is right at 90%, their ER usage is 40 points below the benchmark, and they see that group's doing everything right, it's a lot easier to sell. So the employees, they're a big part of what's going on.
They're a huge part of this, so they really are. So thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. So I guess we need to Have a motion to send this on to council?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Patke, seconded by Solentrup, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank you.
Report of department heads, Administration Department, City Hall, and Public Works Facility alterations.
So within your packet, we have, you've got my letter. This is to do with, we are, part of the capital improvement sales tax was renovation of the City Hall finance floor, which also included a new elevator. It's run its life. The parts sometimes for getting those, I think, takes a while to go ahead and do that. We've had a couple times where we've had to have it shut down, et cetera, for a few days until the parts come in or it can get fixed. But what we did was on in order to move the process forward, we need to have a design firm. And on June 11th, we solicited requests for qualifications. Our committee reviewed those, scored the submittals that we had, and elected to go with Horn Architects for design and inspection services. So we've got a budgeted total of $320,000 for the projects. And the 21-22 budget identified that to be completed in 22. We will go ahead, I just wanted to note that the elevator replacement is going to be is budgeted for $100,000. We will bid that separately. Steve with Horn Architects basically told us you'd be better off to go ahead and do that separately, because if you bid that in with everything else, the general contractor will probably mark that up another 5 to 10%, and you're paying for basically something that they're doing. So with your approval, we'd like to go ahead and move forward with Horn's proposal and get started.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Solentrup, seconded by Pettit, to move forward with the City Hall and Public Works facility alterations. All those in favor, we're going to move it on to council. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Engineering Department, 2021 Front Street Electric Service Conversion Project.
Sal, do you want me to cover this, or? You can help as well. We went back out to bid for proposals this is for the Front Street electric burial. We had to throw out the last bid.
Yeah.
Because it was a non-responsive bidder.
Yes, so we went out for bid about 5 weeks ago. So in part of this project, we had to replace about 7 meters on Front Street. This is the third phase of burying all the utilities on Front, so it'll be completely underground from Rhine River down to Market. We went out and we had one bid. It was one, extremely high, and two, it didn't have all the necessary documents. I think there was some confusion in the bid documents. So we threw that out, went back out to bid, actually got competitive ones submitted back in. And so this is the one with Understall Construction that understood the project a little bit better and was the low bidder, and keeps us under budget for that.
Did you say 7?
Meters, yeah, I believe so.
I thought there'd be more than that.
No, there's not. I mean, some of them, the chamber office has already been redone. Anyone who's already redone their, upgraded their service in the last 10 years doesn't need to have their meters replaced, so.
So why is it that you got 2 bids, but considerable difference?
Right.
That surprised me. What, you know why?
I couldn't tell you what the reasoning is between that. Understall did do the last one for us, so maybe they were confident in what they were going to find.
This is the one out of Pacific, right? This Understall is out of Pacific?
No.
No, it's Understall
brother?
Construction. Yeah, Andy's
Yes.
brother is here in town.
Any other
Okay, I'll keep
questions?
the bid that was non-responsive that we had a month ago
It
was
was
330.
340,000 beforehand, and that was the only bid we had.
So this helps us keep this in
Went down significantly.
check quite a bit.
So.
Nice.
Did you say what was budgeted?
Well, so there's.
Estimate was 200.
Yeah, estimate was 200. There's 500,000 that, this is just the portion of for the meter replacement.
Right.
Ameren will have its own separate bill, about 500,000.
Okay.
And then whatever it ends up being for Charter and AT&T to remove their stuff. So we'll come back. We have 985,000 budgeted for this project.
Whole thing.
And so with these two, we're pretty confident at the end we'll still be under
The
budget.
number's good,
Yeah.
okay.
So in Ameren, this is not taking down poles, it's just,
This is just the work inside each house. So every property or building, every property owner has the ability to now upgrade, and we can basically do here's the base that we're gonna do, because it's no fault of your own that we're doing these upgrades. Say if it's a single phase and they wanna go to a 3-phase, they can tack on to this. So once we approve this contract, we'll have a meeting with every property owner, and they'll have the ability to upgrade their service at a discount, just because we're already doing the minimum amount that we have to with Ameren.
Single phase or 3-phase.
Yeah. Same
Really
thing
starts
we did.
Lafayette, is that right? Because
Yes.
2 Lafayette's done, correct?
2 Lafayette is done. So we did the same thing when we went market to Lafayette, and we had some property owners upgrade at that time, because Ameren said you got to replace the meters. We did that, and that takes that meter replacement out of their bill, so they just tagged on to our electrician bill. So it's a good opportunity for some
Yeah,
businesses
moving
at that time.
forward. It's a good opportunity.
Yep.
Need a motion?
make second. Make motion, send down to council.
Okay, so we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Sullentrup to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you sent it on. Thank you.
Airport Coronavirus Relief Grant Program.
This is the second part of that. If you'll remember, I think we were awarded a total of 30,000. I was looking out at Mary to see, but I know that we had, the first portion of this, we bought the AWAS system to replace it over at the airport. This is just what's left, and basically, from my understanding, it's just an agreement between us and MoDOT. We can turn in anything that we do for basic operations and maintenance expenses to up to $13,000 to go ahead and receive the grant back. So it's money that's coming to us as a result of that relief grant that they had in place.
Any questions or comments?
Make a motion to send it.
Jumping through a lot of hoops for a $13,000 grant.
Welcome to our
I
world.
couldn't believe all the conditions on that thing.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
kind of strict.
Yeah.
Jeff,
Okay.
motion.
Yes, motion made to send to council.
I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Patke, seconded by Pettit, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you sent it on. Thank you.
KFC Pond Agreement and Budget Amendment.
So you've got a copy of John's cover letter with this. I think it explains what we're trying to do up there. This is a regional detention basin that we have. We've been trying to work on an agreement. I think John had something in there for last year's budget, but we couldn't come to terms on the agreement. But what you see now is what's included with that. Items 1 through 5 basically is what, and I'll go through those quickly. This would grant the city a permanent stormwater easement over the improvements. 2, the city would provide a one-time payment of $47,820 to acquire that easement. The Knights of Columbus would improve the pond in accordance with the BFA plan to achieve up to 57,000 cubic feet of detention volume. And Knights of Columbus will maintain the pond and the surrounding property and prevent the growth of algae. And then the city will pay Knights of Columbus $2,500 a year for 20 years as payment towards the ongoing maintenance. And as John, I think, has given you, there's been we've completed other things to go ahead and make those improvements up there, especially around Ron Avenue. In that general area. There's a backflow preventer that was installed on a stormwater pipe. We've completed that already, constructed the berm along the east side of High by Ron as well. So this is the third phase of that, and I know the Knights of Columbus have been waiting for an agreement for quite some time.
Could you again,
Yes.
and I was looking at this, and once again, I wonder what kind of damage this, when it flooded, I guess. Because, I mean, this is going to be like a $100,000 investment for the city. And I'm just wondering.
75, but that's okay.
Well, it's 47 plus 50,000 over the.
47, you're right, with the over
Yeah,
the 20
So
years.
97.
You have issues, I think what John has shown you before is that you have issues where the stormwater gets over High Street and goes directly on to property owners where they've had direct floodwaters go through that home. If you go, that home that's right there, I think it's at the corner of Ron and High.
The second one's actually worse than the first one.
Yes, and the second one is actually, so both of those
There's 3
homes.
houses in a row that have gotten water issues from this. The
Yeah.
second one has had as much as 12 inches of water in there.
Right.
So we would be,
So
Essentially
that's,
looking
well, and so that's something that obviously we don't run into, I mean, we got all kinds of small stormwater issues all over town. That's nothing new. But this is something that was significant that John looked at, that was like, you get 3 houses that are getting hit hard. And so this was the third part of this that we wanted to go ahead and do to make sure that, we could eliminate that. And so part of it was utilizing that as a regional basin, not just for Knights Columbus, but that's for a citywide, it'd be like one of our larger basins that we go ahead and make sure that we got maintenance. Only we work with them to go ahead and do the agreement. Would we care about removal of the algae within that and what the color of that looked like for stormwater purposes? No, but they do. And so, but part of it is they also have to do additional maintenance. So that's how the agreement was worked out.
I don't know if anybody's been up to look at it or not, but it's almost 2 to 3 times the size it was.
Yes.
Yeah, it's much bigger.
So, and this gets us that, as John said in his letter, this gets you that plan to go up to 57,000 cubic feet in volume, so.
And it was all engineered and everything else. It didn't have very much holding power at all. It was down to 2 or 3 foot deep throughout. That's why it was silted and had to be dredged out, is essentially why. So now that's how you're able to get to 57. Why he comes up with that number, I couldn't tell you, but I know there's a lot more holding power in it now.
We've been lucky with the weather.
Yeah, very, as far as pulling it out, but, and I think the other determining factor is that it backs up to the neighborhood. It's not just a hidden retention pond, it's, it looks like a lake, it really does to those neighbors. And that's why the KCs want to be the good neighbor to them, to keep it looking nice, as opposed to just let it grow up and be there. So that's why they're invested in the maintenance part of it, is what they want to do.
Any other questions or comments?
Make a motion.
We have a motion by Solentrop.
Second.
Seconded by Patke to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank you.
Landfill groundwater monitoring services.
This is your semi-annual contract that we need to monitor the groundwater out at the landfill. SCS engineers, we've used them in the past. The contract will provide for those services for December and May, December of 21 this month and May of 22. So just an ongoing annual contract that you have to have. Go ahead.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Solentrop, seconded by Pettit to send on the landfill groundwater monitoring services contract. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank you.
Fire Department fire hose replacement and budget amendment.
Now you get to hear fascinating information about nozzle whip.
Whip now.
And with that, I'll turn over the mic to
Thank you, Darren. Good evening, council. I thought about bringing demo pieces along, but I thought better not to do it. In your package, you have a letter this evening discussing a phenomenon in our problem of our hose presently. Modern fires have changed in the past 20 to 30 years. You look at the heat release rates, the rate of fire growth is pretty substantial. So there's national standards and science out there that says, look, if you're going to go inside of these buildings and fight fires, you need 150 gallons per minute minimum. And so our former hose package delivery with hose and nozzle combination didn't do that. We always felt very strongly, Bill was a hydraulics guy, I'm a hydraulics guy. We looked at it and said, hey, the 1.5-inch hose will work. We can make the numbers work. And we did. It actually will flow it and does it very well. The thing that we did not anticipate was the change in the construction of hose in the past 50 years has worked out pretty substantially differently than what it was. If you look back in time, things come full circle. We're back into solid bore nozzles. And so what we did is, as part of as you increase the flow, the nozzle reaction increases. So the reaction pushing backwards increases as you increase the flow rate. So we went to low pressure nozzles. We started seeing a little bit of an issue. We went to solid bore nozzles, which is even less. So we cut our nozzle pressure essentially in half. And when we did that, the rigidity of the hose substantially changed, and nozzle whip, it's a industry term. And what would happen is, as you open the nozzle up, the nozzle would actually crumble in front of your hands and would start whipping around. I personally almost took one in the mouth a couple times, trying to train others with it. Started doing research in the industry and found this is a pretty common, pretty well-kept secret in the industry. The hose manufacturers have known about it for about 15 years. It started out west. Those guys figured it out first with some stuff that they do, which is much different than here. And so we started digging in, how do we remediate the problem? We purchased some pigtails, which basically were stiffening lines. That's our intermediary problem. That's how we solved it in the meantime, is there's basically a 10 to 12 foot piece of hose on the end. That's this new hose that I'm proposing. That has really worked out very well. We had Marthasville and Beaufort over for doing some mutual aid training. They didn't know about our problem. Said, here, go there, open that nozzle, flow it, what do you think? And we knew what we were flowing through the nozzle, and none of those guys had any issues. So we said, okay, this is the fix. Talked to some other departments about different hoses. We tried 4 different brands of hose and settled on the North American D-back. It's a Duraback anti-kink hose is what it stands for. So we've worked through that. The latest challenge now is, and why we're wanting to propose to replace it all at one time, is we've got 2 different sizes of hose on the truck. And when you pull 2 different lines off, you're pumping that at 2 different pressures. And if our pump operators are pretty much set. They know what each line's supposed to be pumped on the truck. What happens is when I mix up things, it makes it harder for them. And if they pump the wrong pressure to the wrong line, we're into a dangerous situation where people can't hold on to the lines because of the amount of nozzle reaction, because they're flowing almost 200 gallons a minute or more. And so what we found in some training exercises recently is we were doing some training and the pump operators weren't paying attention to it, and we had a fire over on Brinker Recycling where it really came to light, where we lost a hose line and said, this is enough of this, we got to stop this before we get someone injured. There's a single bid, and the reason we have a single bid is McQueen Emergency out of Eureka is the only dealer for the D-back hose, the North American hose. We budget hose every year, so we budget about $5,000 to $6,000 annually for hose replacement. What we're looking at doing is replacing wholesale all of the small diameter hose in the fire department. The fire district on their trucks will be doing the same thing. The new truck in Campbellton already has this new hose on it, and that's how we've used that truck as kind of a proving ground to validate all of this as well. So what we're asking for tonight is a budget amendment for $17,497. We would use that as well as our hose budget for this year of basically $5,200, and replace 108 sections of our small diameter hose.
What do you mean by you lost an 1.5-inch hose out at Brinker Recycling?
It actually got out of somebody's hands and starts whipping around, so they lost control of it. So that's a very unsafe condition because you do not know where that hose is going to end up, that hose and nozzle package will end up.
Huh.
There was a number of near misses actually out there with a fire that was essentially a trash fire, just because of hose issues.
Any other questions or comments?
Make a motion.
Seconded.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Scornia to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've sent it on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks for the lesson.
Parks Department, Phoenix Park, name change request.
Wayne?
Good evening, council. Back in September, Mr. Joe Vernacci sent a letter to City Hall, or to Darren, the city administrator, about possibly renaming Phoenix Park after former Mayor Richard F. Stratman. And his reasoning behind that was that the former mayor was very instrumental on getting the park established on that side of 100. And as you guys know, that's the only park on that side of Highway 100 currently. So a letter was sent. We presented that letter to the Parks Board in September. Mr. Vernacci came to the Park Board meeting and presented his case to Park Board. Park Board discussed it some at that meeting and wanted to take a little more time to think about the possible name change. In October, or let's see, was it October? October, we reviewed or maybe I have my months wrong. I guess it was October, he came to the meeting, we discussed it. They tabled it to the November meeting. The November meeting, he also came again, had a brief conversation. The Parks Commission discussed it again. Couple points that the Park Commission made when, and this was all before my time, but when that park was being built, I believe there was a name suggested for that park after an individual at that time. The Parks Commission at that time said no, they didn't want to, or their recommendation was not to name it after an individual, and it was named Phoenix Park. With that said, Parks Commission, they kind of went back and forth on if they accepted the name change now, they felt like they would be kind of going back on their word on whoever that person was back in 2012, when that individual was proposed to have the park named after them. Their other point was there's a Hall of Fame out here in the council, outside the council chambers, that lists individuals for the city that have contributed in various ways substantially to the city in volunteer efforts and time and talent. Their thought was that the former mayor's name could possibly go on the wall out there. In the end, the Parks Commission came up with a alternate solution, and they proposed it to Mr. Vernacci. The alternate solution was to name the trail at Phoenix Park after the former mayor. They asked Mr. Vernacci if he thought that would be acceptable, and his response was, well, it's better than what's out there now for the current mayor, or for the former mayor, I should say. So the Parks Commission did vote, and they voted 6-2 against renaming the Phoenix Park Richard F. Stratman. Their recommendation is to name the trail the Richard F. Stratman Trail, and to include new signage for the trail.
Wayne, if I could add just one, the Parks Commission, a couple members remembered in the past that they agreed they would not name parks after an individual anymore. They looked to me to see if that was an ordinance. I don't think we would pass an ordinance for that, but that was something that the park board, I think, agreed to, that they would no longer name parks after individuals. And I don't know if that timeline was 3 years ago, 10 years ago, what the number was. Again, look to me to give them an order. I'm like, I don't think that's the case. So that being said, some members of the park board were of the understanding that we don't do this anymore. And therefore, I think the reason for some of the voting, if I'm not mistaken,
Correct.
but they still agreed to do the trail, and that was kind of the consensus. So I just want to add that.
Yeah, thank you.
They kind of thought that was something I never heard of before, that they agreed they were going to do that, but.
So in the end, it's city council's decision on what they'd like to do, whether they rename the park or go with the recommendation from the Parks Commission on renaming the trail.
Are there any comments or questions regarding this item?
Trail has no name now.
Correct.
I think go with the trail instead of the park, like the commission worked on it and they went through meetings of it, and we shouldn't go back on what their decision is. I think we should just keep it to a trail.
Again, the trail was a compromise of not renaming the whole entire park,
Yep.
but it was,
Still giving recognition.
still giving recognition, but not renaming the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the compromise.
That's good.
Anyone else?
You need a second to Joe's? I'll second.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, and then I guess you'll bring this back in an ordinance form then? Is that,
I
because
don't
this
think you-
says discussion, or
It
we
just says discussion. I don't think you necessarily.
Do we need anything
an
else?
ordinance. I think it would be a
Okay.
matter
I don't think so,
of
yeah.
directing the parks to go ahead and get the sign at that entrance off of Rabbit Trail out there, I think is the main.
Is that right, Mark?
Yeah, there's a sign there right now. It was a former Boy Scout project. And then, so that's one entrance to the trail. And then obviously the other entrance to the trail would be up by the shelter, the pavilion up there. And so we would put something up there also.
When the new playground is built, it'll be somewhere next to that.
Yeah, somewhere in that area probably.
Right.
Okay, so we have a motion by Holtmeyer. Did we get a second, or
Mark West.
Mark? A second by Wessels, to go with the Park Board's recommendation of naming the trail after former Mayor Richard Stratman. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've named it after Mayor Stratman. So, very good. Thank you.
Street Department 2021 trailer sealer.
Tony?
Good evening, council. This is a replacement. We had budgeted in the street department for a new tank for use for sealing our parking lots. We budgeted $19,000. It came in at $20,000. We did have a little extra money last council meeting from our miller, so we came under $3,000 or $4,000 under budget, so we'll have a little extra money left over. This new tank will have pressurized. It'll have a spray wand, where the old one just dumped the sealer onto the ground and the guys squeegeed the entire parking lot by hand. This will have a spray wand, will give us the ability to spray it on. It also is going to come with a 9-foot spray bar on the back for doing trails or some of the longer parking lots like along Front Street. And it also has an agitator in it, and by design and by recommendation from the manufacturer, you mix sand with your sealer. It gives you a little bit more traction and reduces slipping and tripping in the parking lot, so.
Nice picture.
Yeah, yeah. Say, Tony, I read all of that about it, and as soon as I saw that picture, I thought, oh, my God.
But Tony's right, though. Those guys were at the parking lots along Front Street this summer doing it with that on the back of a trailer with a hose out the bottom and 6 guys squeegeeing to keep up with the hose. That's just how it is. That's how it's done.
And when you've always done it that way, you don't think of other operations, but when you think of something like this with the spray wand or even with the spray bar on the back, they would just go all the way down.
Cut your labor in half.
Yeah, we'll still have to do a lot of work around bumper blocks and along, buildings or whatnot, but that'll help us out a lot.
Will you be able to keep the product longer than, because like right now you can maybe keep it till tomorrow, but that's it in the tank, I know.
Yeah, it'll keep it long because it'll agitate. On a good day, we'll knock out 1,000 gallons.
Right.
We go pick it up in the morning, we'll do 1,000 gallons, depending on the size of the parking lots. And then the next day, if we're still doing it, we'll go get another 1,000 gallons and do it again. With something like this, we can keep it in the tank overnight and it won't be that big a deal. And usually at the end of the season, we flush it all out and clean the whole thing out anyway.
Okay, very good.
All right.
Any other questions or comments?
Make a motion, send it on.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Pettit, to send this item on to council. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you sent it on. Thank you. This concludes. Are there any questions or comments by council members?
Motion adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Patke, seconded by Holtmeyer, to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Okay, we'll take a little break here. Are you ready, Sherry? Ready? Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order, please.
Regular meeting of Washington, Missouri City Council, Monday, December 6th, 7:05 PM. Hydrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Patke.
Here.
Pettit.
Here.
Reed.
Yep.
Scornia.
Yes.
Solentrop.
Here.
Wessels.
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Introduce the.
Oh, wait a minute. We have all these Boy Scouts back here. Golly, we're just in such a hurry. Come on. Boy Scouts, please come forward.
Lead us.
Okay. So, anyway. We have.
We were just practicing. We never did this.
We're on a roll tonight. So we have these wonderful Boy Scouts here tonight, and they're from Troops 462 from the VFW. And they are working tonight on their citizenship in the community badge. They're going to learn all about citizenship tonight. So anyway, so we have Billy, you guys can raise your hand and wave, okay? So Billy Dieselkamp, okay, Harvick Kleinheider, Simon Figgis, Henry Thornton, and Cam Harvey. And they're going to lead us in the pledge, and I believe that, Billy, do you have the honors to do that? Okay, so we'll start this over. Okay.
If in uniform, Scout salute, if not in overheard, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was a lot better.
All right, thank you.
Will all the council members answer if they have or have not read the minutes of the council meeting dated November 15th, 2021? Hydrich.
Aye.
Holtmeyer.
Aye.
Patke.
Yes.
Pettit.
Yes.
Reed.
Yep.
Scornia.
Yes.
Solentrop. Wessels.
Aye.
Having read the minutes, are there any comments or questions?
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Solentrop, seconded by Patke, to approve the minutes from our last meeting dated November 15, 2021. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the minutes. Thank you.
Approval and adjustment of agenda, including consent agenda. You have the collector's report summary, August 2021, the investment report summary, August 2021, final payment request, Westport Pools, Inc., and final payment request for pool operations and management.
Okay, are there any questions or comments regarding the items on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Patke, seconded by Holtmeyer, to approve the items on the consent agenda. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the items. Thank you.
Priority items, certificate of appreciation, the Rotary Club.
So we have several items tonight. The first one is to recognize the Rotary Club for their participation in purchasing one of the large umbrellas for our pool. And so I believe that there are members here tonight.
Come on
Come
up.
on up. Are you Rotary too? John?
You're up, Rotary. So you're up, Rotary.
Fine. You have to go?
Stand over here.
Sure you do.
You're a Rotary?
Plenty. Or do you want?
Come on.
Okay.
All
Here
right.
we go.
I told you.
All right. Well, we really appreciate your generosity to help to outfit our pool. Obviously, the pool's been a huge success this year. We're looking forward to that. In the years to come, that it'll be a real gem, and it was very, very popular. So the additional shade will be very much appreciated. So we have a certificate of appreciation. Whereas the Rotary Club of Washington was founded in 1970 and has grown to more than 130 business leaders with a common belief in this concept of service above self. And whereas the Rotary Club of Washington has recently donated $4,931.40 for the purchase of a 20-foot shade umbrella at the Agnes Nolting Aquatic Complex. And now therefore I, Sandy Lucy, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor and on behalf of our governing body and all our citizens, do hereby tender this certificate of appreciation to extend a heartfelt thank you and express our appreciation to the Rotary Club of Washington for their generous donation to the Washington community. Signed, Sandy Lucy, Mayor. So thank you very much.
On behalf of the club, I just want to thank the city for this honor. We've been around for over 50 years now. We're over 100 members strong. Some of the people you'll see are members of the club and our fine chief as well. And I just want to tell you, I did not grow up here. I've been a part of Washington for about 30 years, working here and then being part of any organization that would let me in. I just appreciate this town. It's for people that have never been here. We've brought friends here, and it's amazing. They are just astounded at the wonderful community this is, the participation, the generosity of everyone here in town. So many fundraisers, so many opportunities to grow and bring your family. And I just want to say a big thank you to the city. Thank you.
Certificate of Appreciation, Washington Lions Club.
So the Washington Lions Club is here? Hello.
Yeah, I can go to this one, I guess.
There you go. Your turn.
Since I made you go to the last one.
So the Lions Club has also been very involved in our community through the years. They have donated certainly a considerable amount of money to different projects that we have asked them to, or that they have readily volunteered to do. Of course, the Lions Lake is one of their big projects from a long time ago, and so anything associated with Lions Lake obviously reminds us of lions. So anyway, but we're so glad you're here tonight and really appreciate your generosity of contributing over $35,000 to the city to add the stone onto the pavilions, and then also for a new sign in the park. So we certainly appreciate your generosity. That's a lot of pork burgers. So anyway. So anyway, we have a certificate of appreciation, whereas the Lions Club, organized and chartered in 1939, has contributed much leadership, personal service, and monetary assistance to our community. And whereas the Washington Lions Club has recently donated $35,000 for the purchase of materials and signage on the newly constructed pavilions at Bernie E. Hillerman Park. Now therefore I, Sandy Lucy, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor, and on behalf of our governing body and all our citizens, do hereby tender this certificate of appreciation to extend a heartfelt thank you and express our appreciation to the Washington Lions Club for their generous donation to the Washington community. Signed, Sandy Lucy, Mayor. So there you go. All right.
Thank you for that honor. It's greatly appreciated. On behalf of the Washington Lions Club, I'm Ron Williams. I'm past president. This is Amy Menschlick, who is the current president. And I had the joyful honor of being president of the organization last year during COVID. But honestly, the Washington Lions Club still honors its motto, as it has for over 80 years, of We Serve. And we're here to serve our community. We're here to serve the betterment of the Lions organization. And we've been able to do that throughout the years. And by God, we didn't let COVID get in our way. We were still able to raise some money. We were still able to keep everything afloat. And in fact, you all are benefiting from it because I went to Mr. Dunker and said, you got some projects that need done? And he immediately talked about the rock facade and the new signage at the parks. And we're more than happy to do that, especially at our namesake of Lions Lake. So on behalf of the Washington Lions Club, we appreciate this honor. We have already presented a check to Mr. Patke as one of our members as a payment for the signage in the amount of $5,000 tonight. So we're part of the community, have always been a part of the community, and we're glad to be the namesake of this community, Washington Lions Club. Thank you all very much.
Handing money over.
Okay. Ready?
Tourism Commission reappointment.
Tonight on your agenda is a reappointment of Tyler King to serve on the Tourism Commission. His commission will expire in 2024. And I believe that this is a seat that is designated to the Director of Downtown Washington, so he's been that member since he took that position. So any comments or questions?
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Patke, seconded by Pettit, to approve the reappointment of Tyler King to serve on the Tourism Commission. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the reappointment. Thank you.
Mayor's presentations, appointments, and reappointments. Proclamation, Washington High School Softball Team State Championship.
So we're so proud of you for bringing such recognition to our community this year with your softball. Washington is an amazing community, as you all know, and when you do something really, really great, this entire community supports you and is behind you all the way. So we've been watching as you've gone through the season and how exciting it was to be able to bring this trophy home to our community. So thank you so much for representing us well and for being our shining star. So thank you. So we have a mayor's proclamation, City of Washington, Missouri. Washington High School Varsity Softball Team, Class 4 State Championship 2021. Whereas Washington High School is a participating member of the Missouri State High School Activities Association, and whereas excellence and success in competitive sports can be achieved only through strenuous practice, teamwork, and a dedicated coaching staff, it is important to recognize these young women who, by achieving outstanding success in athletic competition, have inspired and brought pride to Washington. And whereas Washington High School Lady Jays softball team compiled a 32-5 record, broke 7 team school single-season records, ended their season with a school record 19-game winning streak, and ranked number 3 in the National Fast Pitch Coaches Association Coaches Poll. And whereas this softball team competed for and won the Missouri Class 4 State Championship, marking the second team state championship in the school's history, with the first state championship being won by Blue Jay football team in 1973. And whereas special commendation is due to team members, coaches, and staff. So team members are Taylor Brown, Christine Gerling, Kelsey Holtmeyer, Ella Lousy, Grace Molitor, Kendall Nix, Elizabeth Reed, Emily Bruckerhoff, Maddie Guevara, Mila Inman, Lexi Lewis, Lacey Monzik, Lauren Opfer, Lauren Thurman. Coaches, the head coach is Philip King, and the assistant coaches are Dane Gow, Grant Young, and Tim Zumsteg. Now therefore I, Sandy Lucy, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Washington, and on behalf of the entire city council, hereby congratulate you on your first place title and extend this expression of our pride in your accomplishment and our appreciation for the fine publicity you have brought to our community by your good sportsmanship and inspired team play. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused to be affixed the seal of the city of Washington, Missouri, this 6th day of December 2021, signed Sandy Lucy, Mayor. Very good.
You can do it!
I'll give this to you. Okay.
I appreciate it.
You want to make a comment or whatever?
Yeah, I'd like to thank the council for recognizing them. It was a very huge honor. And one other thing that I forgot to add in here, and it wasn't until Bill Deckelman said it at the school board that I thought was also a really cool thing to remember, is that it's the first girls' state championship for our school.
Way to go, ladies.
Yes, thank you very much.
Coach, I have a question for you.
Yes.
When do you start spring ball for the girls here?
When do we start? They don't quit.
Well, which, is the brown girl up here, pitcher?
She's playing basketball. We have 4 girls on the basketball team.
I've been talking to Mr. Wessel here, and he would like to have a challenge with her. I'd like for her to strike him out, and he says that she can't do it.
She's got to move back an extra 20 feet.
Well, Mark, if you could show up to the home opener, we could set something up.
Let's throw out the first pitch.
Congrats, girls.
Congratulations.
Good job, girls.
Good job.
Hey, girls, can we get a picture with the mayor?
Picture. You gotta have a picture.
Yeah. Get out of the background.
Yeah, well, we're in the background. Just smile, you're in it.
It's for
Now
our
we're in.
school website, so.
Sure.
I know, what about the coach?
Nice job.
Good job.
Do it again, ladies.
Picking up?
I think I can make a basketball game.
That's your
Here's your
better.
day.
Nice. That's awesome.
Go to a pitching cage.
Holy cow.
Board of Public Works reappointment.
Okay, tonight in your packet is a reappointment of Steve Struberg as an advisory member for the Board of Public Works. This would be a term that would end in 2025. It's a reappointment, so I think Steve is also, it's usually the advisory board members that then, if we have an opening on the actual board, they then move into that position. So that's why the title is advisory member. So, any comments or questions?
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Pettit, to approve the reappointment of Steve Struberg as an advisory member to the Board of Public Works. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? By your vote, you approve the reappointment. Thank you.
Police Department reappointment.
Evening, Council. I have for reappointment Officer Zachary Yawitz. Officer Yawitz is an exceptional officer. He's been for us going on 4 years. In our department, we look on those officers and we look for future leaders. And we take some of those officers and put them in a layover position. It gives them a chance to experience supervision, be in charge every once in a while, little extra duties. We recently placed Officer Yawitz in the layover position so we can see how he functions. and command at different times. And they're given commands of a shift every once in a while by these supervisors, say, you've got it today, let's see how you do. This helps us develop sergeants and makes it easier to pick those worthy of promotion. So he is one of those people in overlay, so he is doing well. So I would request your reappointment.
Any comments or questions?
I'll make a motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Patke, seconded by Heidrich, to approve the reappointment of Zachary Yawitz as a police officer, and that would be for a one-year term.
Yes.
So, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you approve the reappointment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Citizens' comments?
Mike John, 610 Robert Street. I'm a lot shorter. This ain't a complaint or anything, but I'd like to know what's going on with this Bush Creek Trail for the kids and everything like that, and that safe trail. We put I hear different numbers, 800,000, 500,000, 4 years now, and what's the progress? What's the long-term goal? Because is this going to be a 15-year project? I'm just curious. That's all.
Sure, absolutely. Well, to give you the history I know, the city first put together a bike and pedestrian facilities plan probably back together in the late 90s, and that was the first time that they identified the Bush Creek trail potential. So obviously we had to wait until we had funding. Prior to that, there was the focus was on the riverfront trail with regards to that. So that's how long it's been kind of in the preliminary planning to go ahead and get to the phase where we're at. Unfortunately, this past year with COVID, it's a federally funded project, so it's not completely funded by the city. We get matching dollars. Sal can probably give you, I'm going to rely upon him to give you the numbers for the trail. But basically, we have to get, before we go through preliminary design, et cetera, all of those have to be approved through MoDOT along the way. Unfortunately, with COVID, their offices, some of them are shut down for months. We didn't hear anything, et cetera. I think we wanted to have this project actually already completed by now originally from the original date. Sal, do you remember the budget numbers, if you can give us?
I thought off the top of my head, to be honest, it's been 3 years since we submitted that, so.
It's probably 800,000, I thought.
We got about 640 in federal dollars, so 20% on top of that would be 80, 20 grand.
So I can get you a precise number though, but basically it was somewhere in that ballpark. The idea, I think now, is we are waiting on to go out from MoDOT for us to go out to bid. And so as soon as we hear back from MoDOT, then it's going to go out to bid for construction, and then we'll see what the bid numbers come in, and then award a contract and move forward.
So basically, nothing's been done yet because of COVID?
No, all the preliminary design, all of that, they've approved that. It's all ready to go. It's just we're waiting on them to release for us to go ahead and put it out to bid.
Okay.
COVID, MoDOT projects are always 3 years, basically, you know.
From the time you start with your
Before you
application
start,
process,
it's
yes.
3 years, a year to design, a year to obtain right-of-way, and then a year to construct. So we talk about those for a long time before they actually happen, because you have to, and then, you know, a year ahead of that is when you're applying for the grant.
Right.
So it does drag on, so.
And I understand that, and there was just a lot of concerned citizens in Washington from all wards.
Sure.
That were just curious what's going on. It's a lot of money, and what's going on.
It's just again to review that it is an off-street, partially on-street network that goes, pretty much follows the Bush Creek. It's off-street. I will say, like, there's a portion that we've got, I know for sure, I don't have the plans in front of me, but I know from down there by Sunnyside, when you come down the high school, the kids have beaten a path down there basically along the creek all the way over to Dairy Delight or whatever. And so that pathway, that's part of it. Part of it stays on 8th Street as you go further. It's got the capacity in the future to do a little bit more off-street if some areas develop down there around Camp Street area. So, and then it runs in front of the area that's been in recent discussions about the RV park or whatever, where they were talking about that at the time at 9th and International. So that area down there as well. tries to tie in. The reason why it was able to get funding was the fact that it ties in our public schools, our park system, and those areas of interest along the way.
And I appreciate this. Like I said,
Yeah.
this is just I just needed to know what was going on.
Sure.
Okay,
I
very good.
appreciate you thoroughly answering my question.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking. Is there anyone else who would like to address the council? Okay.
Report of department heads, health benefits recommendation.
Evening, Council. This is our letter to you from Darren and I recommending we go forward with what Schroepfer Insurance has presented, and that we agree to stay with all benefit carriers and take a 3.1% decrease on our medical insurance while maintaining the same level of benefits.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments?
Absolutely. Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Patke, seconded by Solentrup, to approve the recommendation of the health benefits, to approve that recommendation, to accept the decrease in charges and keep the health increase the same, or the health benefits the same. So, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you've accepted the insurance plan.
Thank you. We'll move forward.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shauna.
Ordinances and resolutions, an ordinance repealing Chapter 125 of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri, and enacting in lieu thereof of a new Chapter 125 relating to personnel policies.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
As you remember at your, the last, I believe it was a month ago, was that when we did the presentation or whatever? And Christie kind of went through the details of the Employee Handbook. This has been, as we said before, a couple years in the making. I think it was since the mid-2000s, since the last time it was thoroughly reviewed. So it was in need of some updates and in need of some review. We included what comments that employees have provided department heads over that time frame. And then we also, what we chose to do, or what we, then we sat down with the department heads, went in detail again with them throughout the entire manual, and then we turned it over for legal review. And Christy Coleman with Mark's firm reviewed that for her. That's her specialty or whatever. She helped us out tremendously because she reduced the quite a number of pages, which I loved removing, and we're down to about a 40-some page document now as compared to what we were, 80-something before. So this would replace the personnel rules and regulations that we have with an employee handbook. And I don't know, Shauna, you want to add with anything else that you've got to
I
add?
think we reviewed, Darren and I began this process and diligently worked to make sure that we were presenting a professional handbook for employees that we want to treat professionally, making sure that we cover liabilities and such, but also treating employees with a professional manner, because we feel like that's investment in them, our human resource that we do have. So we appreciate you looking at it. We didn't get any further comment after our last meeting, and so we present it to you as it stands today in ordinance form.
And Christy is here also to go ahead and answer any questions again, in case you had any tonight.
Have they been issued to the employees yet?
Not yet. We did an email out. I sent an email out that basically highlighted all of the differences of what we had. I sent that out last week and let them know we will be meeting with payroll clerks.
And department heads.
And department heads in the next couple weeks. The goal would be is to go ahead and, again, take effect January the 1st.
Once you all approve it, then we would start the process of distributing the new handbook, getting acknowledgement that employees received it, and then retrieving the old handbooks if possible. So we want to make sure it's approved before we pass it along to them, and then we'll give that out and make sure that administratively, especially our payroll clerks, for things that have changed in our payroll system, that we are ready to go in January 1, so we can make sure we can accommodate those changes.
And Joe would follow up. We did get some comments back from some of the employees, at least I did. They responded back saying, thank you for the considerations of the stuff that was made, and they appreciated a lot of the changes that were made as a result, so.
Good.
I would agree. I think great process. I appreciate how thorough it was and how engaged the staff had an opportunity to be on the front end and on the back end. I think the revisions here coupled with, our continued insurance plan, I mean, it's outstanding. And so I love that we can offer our employees that, and makes me proud to be a part of council.
We're really invested in, we want to give the best product to get the best employees. And in this market, as many of you know, it's tough to get good employees, and it's tough to get them to stay. So we want to do what we can to provide incentive to our current employees, but also for retaining our current and then for recruiting new. So and we feel that.
Shauna, can you explain to me once again, I know I asked last time, but why is it again that we're not across the board on alcohol and random drug test? That we don't go from the very top of our employees to the very bottom of our employees?
Are you speaking about for random? or
Random drug test.
Okay, because for, Chrissy, can we answer this in open session?
Chrissy, you come up to the,
I would rather her explain it just because I don't want to say anything that's not exactly the law.
So public employees have rights to privacy, constitutional statutory rights to privacy that private employees do not have. And so therefore, in order to override that right to privacy, you have to show that there is a legitimate public interest. And how you do that is that you can randomly test your employees that have been recently involved in a work-related accident, because you have an overriding interest to make sure that they were sober whenever they were using your equipment, so you're not hurting your residents. You also have the ability to do that if they have a safety sensitive position. So if they're operating heavy equipment, or they're out there with large lawnmowers, that type of thing. So basically, if it puts the residents in danger whenever they're using the equipment, you have the ability to make sure they're sober whenever they're doing it, either post-accident or random. If neither of those two situations apply, then their right to privacy stays intact, and you cannot just randomly test them.
And that comes from,
It's constitutional protections, in the right to privacy.
and we're not open to any kind of, well, I guess not, since it's, I just think I think it's very unfair that not to say the office personnel aren't the working class too, but the guys and gals that are out there in the heat and this and that, busting their butt, are getting more penalized than people that are in an office with a random drug test. I just don't feel like it's right. So that's my thoughts on this.
Are there any questions for me?
Any other questions for Christy while she's here?
I wanted to echo some of what was mentioned earlier by everybody, for the staff and everybody. This is an impressive document.
It's impressive, isn't it?
Good job.
thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Do the second reading?
An ordinance repealing Chapter 125 of the Code of the City of Washington, Missouri, and enacting lieu thereof a new Chapter 125 relating to personnel policies. Patke?
Yes.
Hydrich?
Nay.
Scornia?
Yes.
Reed?
Yep.
Pettit?
Yes.
Solentrup?
Yes.
Wessels?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
An ordinance accepting the proposal for standard architectural engineering services for interior alterations with Horn Architects for City Hall and the Public Works Facility.
This is the ordinance that we. I'm sorry.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer. That's what I heard first. Sorry. Okay. Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
Sorry.
That's right.
I was trying to decide who.
Oh.
Give it to.
Okay. This is what we discussed at the workshop or whatever. These are for the City Hall and Public Works facilities improvements that we've identified through the capital improvement sales tax. And we needed designed and somebody to review those during construction. And so we had a committee that looked at it, reviewed our RFQs that came in, and decided to go with Horn Architects.
Any questions or comments?
An ordinance accepting the proposal for standard architectural engineering services for interior alterations with Horn Architects for City Hall and the Public Works Facility. Patke?
Yes.
Hydrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Reed?
Yep.
Pettit?
Yes.
Solentrup? Wessels? Holtmeyer?
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract agreement with Undersaw Construction Company for the 2021 Front Street Electric Service Conversion Project.
Scornia. Introduced by Councilman Scornia. This is the,
This is the contract proposed for Undersaw Construction Company to go ahead and replace the meters as a result of the Front Street utility burial.
any comments or questions?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract agreement with Undersaw Construction Company for the 2021 Front Street Electric Service Conversion Project. Patke?
Yes.
Hydrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Reed?
Yep.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Wessels?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an airport coronavirus relief grant program agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
This is the coronavirus relief grant that our airport was eligible for. I think we received a total of $30,000. However, we've already utilized $16,000 for the replacement of our AWAS system over there. This is the remaining balance of what's left, and that we can go ahead and utilize towards operations and maintenance of the airport. I think all we have to do is just show invoices for our daily operations, and we can receive the $13,000 back.
Any comments or questions?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of an airport coronavirus relief grant program agreement by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission. Patke?
Yes.
Hydrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Reed?
Yep.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Wessels? Holtmeyer?
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of agreement for easement and maintenance by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Knights of Columbus Memorial Association and amend the 2021-2022 budget.
Patke.
Introduced by Councilman Patke.
This is the agreement for the maintenance and the easement that the city would get from Knights of Columbus to go ahead and make that a regional detention basin over there on the Knights of Columbus property. I think we outlined the details of that in the workshop previous, unless anybody has any questions.
Okay. Any comments?
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of agreement for easement and maintenance by and between the City of Washington, Missouri and the Knights of Columbus Memorial Association and amend the 2021-2022 budget. Patke?
Yes.
Hydrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Reed?
Yep.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
Wessels? Holtmeyer?
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract with SCS Engineers for the semi-annual groundwater monitoring program at the Struckoff Sanitary Landfill.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
Again, this is the semi-annual groundwater monitoring contract that, as a result of having the landfill, we're required to go ahead and provide. SCS has done this work for us in the past, and we recommend we continue.
Any questions or comments? Okay.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a contract with SCS Engineers for the semi-annual groundwater monitoring program at the Struckoff Sanitary Landfill. Patke?
Yes.
Hydrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Reed?
Yep.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Wessels? Holtmeyer?
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance accepting the bid from McQueen Emergency and to approve the purchase of 108 50-foot sections of North American D-Back 800 hose and amend the 2021-2022 budget by the City of Washington, Missouri.
Hydrich.
Introduced by Councilman Hydrich.
Good evening again, Council. As we described in the operations meetings, the request to change the budget and request 108 sections of hose.
Any comments or questions?
If you're bored, June, you can help test it.
What?
We test it every year,
Okay.
so.
An ordinance accepting the bid from McQueen Emergency and to approve the purchase of 108 50-foot sections of North American D-Back 800 hose and amend the 2021-2022 budget by the City of Washington, Missouri. Patke?
Yes.
Hydrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Reed?
Yeah.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
Wessels? Holtmeyer?
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night.
An ordinance accepting a bid from Seal Wright, Evos, Missouri, and to approve the purchase of a 2021 SR 1000 trailer sealer with additional spray bar accessory by the City of Washington, Missouri.
Holtmeyer.
Introduced by Councilman Holtmeyer.
Good evening, Council. We spoke about this at the workshop. This is our upgrade to our sealing tank for sealing our parking lots and riverfront trails.
Any comments or questions?
We need a picture of the new one when you get it, since the old one looks so grim.
Make sure you take it as soon as you get it.
Yes.
Yes.
Before you put the oil in.
Yeah.
Next
We'll bring it by here in the circle.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
An ordinance accepting the bid from Seal Wright, Evos, Missouri, and to approve the purchase of a 2021 SR 1000 trailer sealer with additional spray bar accessory by the City of Washington, Missouri. Patke?
Yes.
Hydrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Reed?
Yep.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
Wessels? Holtmeyer?
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a quitclaim deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri, Harvey L. Albright and Deborah J. Albright.
Sullentrup.
Introduced by Councilman Sullentrup.
This is in order to get a permanent right-of-way for the portion that was along, this is where a new house was built on Fair Street. I think at the time when we passed, if you'll remember the night when we passed all the easements for everybody, I don't think this one was listed at the time, but this would take care of that one lone property on Fair Street.
Any comments or questions?
For sidewalk easement?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
It's for the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And that project is
Complete.
significantly complete.
Right.
Made it in right under the bell.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a quitclaim deed by and between the City of Washington, Missouri, Harvey L. Albright and Deborah J. Albright. Patke?
Yes.
Hydrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Reed?
Yep.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup?
Yes.
Wessels? Holtmeyer?
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance approving a boundary adjustment for Westview at Stone Crest in the City of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri.
Hydrich.
Introduced by Councilman Hydrich.
You can see that on the subdivision plat or the exhibit that's included with the ordinance or whatever, they'll be adjusting that lot line. Part of the one lot comes off of rock. You've got it up? Very good. Sorry.
Better than explaining.
I was used to. I'll quit rambling and let you go.
Oh, it's all good. I just, this, as Darren was just saying, there's the house on South Point there, and they're making the adjustment to attach, break off 1 acre here and attach it to the house, or the empty lot on Rock Crest. And so it's not any net new lots, which is why it did not go to planning and zoning, and it's only approved here tonight.
Correct.
Any comments or questions?
So that new lot's gonna be that kind of funny shaped thing?
Yep.
Okay.
Like this.
All right.
Okay. Oh, hello?
Andrea Stratman. I'm the current property owner, so if you have any questions.
Andrea, do you know, the only question I would have is just, is the portion that's being added, which is north of your current residence, how does that affect the, any subdivision restrictions, although the city doesn't get involved, just out of curiosity?
So yeah, technically it won't be covered by
Okay.
the Stonecrest restrictions. And
So that lot will have some restrictions, but not in the other part?
yeah, and that's for the new owner to figure out because they're
Gotcha.
involved in all
Okay.
that.
Do you know if it, and you don't have to say, I guess, but are there plans right now to put a house on that shaped lot?
No.
No.
Okay, any other questions of Andrea? Thanks for being here. Mhm.
An ordinance approving a boundary adjustment for Westview at Stone Crest in the city of Washington, Franklin County, Missouri. Patke?
Yes.
Heydrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Reed?
Yeah.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Wessels?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a partial release of deed of trust by and between the city of Washington, Missouri and the Washington, Missouri Redevelopment Corporation.
Saltrop.
Introduced by Councilman Sullentrup. Sal?
Well, you want to go ahead?
Well, yeah, this is just a partial deed of release for Lot 18. John Ballman, he purchased Lot 15 across the street a couple of months back. He's now purchasing Lot 18. And for 353 to be able to release that to him and then pay back that money towards the debt, the title company wanted a partial release of deed for that amount to be approved by council. So this is just what's required for them to be able to close tomorrow.
Any comments or questions?
And what if we say no?
That's a problem.
Don't table this one.
Please.
We have no reason to tell you to do that, because if you'd like to go ahead and get paid back by the
let's go ahead and
353
do that.
redevelopment corporation.
Yeah, this is 50,000 back to pay back the loan that 353 took out on Heidman.
Correct.
Anything else? Okay.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the execution of a partial release of deed of trust by and between the city of Washington, Missouri and the Washington, Missouri Redevelopment Corporation. Patke?
Yes.
Heydrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Reed?
Yep.
Pettit?
Yes.
Sullentrup? Wessels?
Aye.
Holtmeyer?
Aye.
By your vote, you approve the ordinance. Thank you.
Commission, committee, and board reports. Washington Historic Preservation Commission Annual Report.
In your packet tonight is just our annual report for the Historic Preservation Commission. To be a certified local government with the State Historic Preservation Office, we have to turn this in annually. So Jamie put this together for us, as she always does, and she did an outstanding job. So that is to be accepted into the minutes, and then we will send that off to the state.
Motion accepted in the minutes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Yeah. Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Holtmeyer, seconded by Pettit, to accept this item into the minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? By your vote, you have accepted that into the minutes and approved it. Thank you.
Mayor's report.
Just a reminder that filing begins tomorrow morning. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, and then also, obviously, the Christmas season is upon us. So enjoy the season. And shortly after the first of the year, we will be having our employee appreciation party, and that'll be on the first Friday, the 7th of January. So just following the holidays will be that event. So anyway, get your calendar marked. And that's all I have.
City Administrator's report.
I just have two quick items that I'd like to mention. A couple of employees that passed some significant testing lately. First was our Lieutenant Daryl Balladeer. He completed 10 weeks at Northwestern University Center for Public Safety's School of Police Staff and Command. Pretty intensive 10 weeks, I understand. So,
This
Chief?
school is tantamount to going to the FBI Academy. It's comparable.
Good.
So.
Very proud of Daryl and that accomplishment. The second item was Charles Stankovich within our engineering department. He just passed his professional engineer. So we've got 3 professional engineers now on your staff, which is probably more than most of your firms around here, to be quite honest. Anyway, kudos to Charles, though. That was a significant accomplishment for him, and we're happy to hear that he passed.
Congratulations to both.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. The staff is just really getting their certifications and things like that, so it's pretty exciting.
And I do have several items to review with you in executive session.
Council comments.
Any comments tonight?
City Attorney's report. Public vote on whether or not to hold a closed meeting to discuss personnel, legal, and real estate matters pursuant to Section 610.021 RSMO 2000. Patke?
Yes.
Hydrich?
Aye.
Scornia?
Yes.
Reed?
Yep.
Pettit?
Yes.
Solentrop? Wessels? Holtmeyer?
Aye.
We are,
Motion adjourned.
motion, well, we'll be in executive session, so anyway. Okay. So we'll be going into executive session.
Do like Oliver?